Okay, my friends, not exactly sure how to start today's broadcast. Normally, this would have been reserved for exclusive content at Restricted Republic. So, to my Restricted Republic family, I felt the information was too important and needed to be shared. Because it appears there was an irreversible, some would quote, unforgivable error made in this Uvalde mass shooting. One detail emerging, one detail, that exposes a bombshell of information. One news agency brave enough to report it, and I combed through so many articles. You can't imagine. Attempting to get the timeline straight so I could report it to my audience, trying to put some understanding behind the mass misinformation that was reported by the mainstream media. Errors made across the board. But they failed to mention one thing. One thing that will make you rethink everything, a reality check in every essence. This is not meant to defend nor support anyone. I'm going to let you come to your own conclusions on that. But when you find out this one egregious error, it will truly have you rethinking everything. Now, before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please take just a few seconds to do that. It means the world to me. Normally, I do many more videos than this, but this one took all the time I had, and you're about to see why. Normally, this content is reserved for Restricted Republic, where we give you all the information, all the truth. No commercials, no interruptions, uncensored, unfiltered. But today's story transcends all of that. If you haven't been to the platform, please get there. Lisa Haven and I work day and night to bring truths just like this. This is how deep we research what you're about to find out. We're going to offer you discount code FREEDOM, $5 a month for 24 months, plus 14 days for free, because we know once you're there, you'll go nowhere else for your news that matters. Stories like this, full detail, full references. Check us. That's why we put them there. Dig into the stories that matter. But now let's continue on with this one thing they failed to mention. So back to this story, and we're going to move rather quick. There is a ton of details to get through. Remember, I dug through this story initially just to provide you as accurate of a timeline as we could based on the information currently available. I want to be very specific, however. Details are continually emerging that will adjust this story, and we will report with any corrections as we move on. New York Times reporting the Texas gunman texted a friend that he had shot his grandmother and was about to shoot up a school, the very beginning of this story. A 15-year-old girl in Germany who asked to be identified only by her nickname Cece said in an interview that she had not met the future gunman. Salvador Ramos, about 2 weeks earlier on Yubo, an app that lets people live stream themselves to strangers and through which other teenagers from California to Greece said they had interacted with Ramos. It goes on to state Ramos turned 18 on May 16th, and the girl said he had video called her in the days around his birthday from a gun store where he told her he was purchasing an AR-15 rifle. In the following days, Mr. Ramos referred to doing something with the gun, though she said she was never clear about what. On Monday evening, the night before the shooting, she said he told her that a package had arrived from an online order and sent her a picture of a large cardboard box that he later said contained ammunition that would expand on impact. Cece said Ramos also showed her on a video call a black bag that appeared to hold many magazines of ammunition and at least one gun. Ramos worked at this Wendy's. Story coming out of there, again supporting information, states. Saving up for slaughter, Texas school shooter made chilling boast about $4,000 plot to Wendy's co-workers and quit when he'd saved enough to buy those two AR-15s you have seen pictured. Cruz exclusively told the U.S. Sun that Ramos openly talked about how he was using the money for the job to buy guns and ammo and suddenly quit weeks before the school shooting after making enough. It had been estimated that the teen would have spent around $4,000 on his weapons, ammunition, and tactical style vest. One of the weapons the gunman bought was a $1,870 Daniel Defense weapon, which he reportedly posted a receipt for on Yuval. Cruz revealed to the U.S. Sun that Ramos bragged to co-workers about what he intended to do with his work income. Disturbing details emerging, truly. He told us he was saving up money for guns and ammo. We would ask him, why would you spend your money on that? Spend it on a car or something useful. Adding that Ramos quit after, again, he'd saved enough money, according to pictures, purchasing these two weapons. And now we're going to jump into the timeline of that day. Had to compare multiple news sources. You always have to reference and research and find out what timelines are being reported. This one on the Washington Post. What did police do at Texas school shooting? A timeline emerges. The article goes on to state. Now, I want to be specific here because we're going to be jumping between a Washington Post article, a New York Post article, a New York Times article. I'll always put the article up above me so you know which source this is coming from. From that original, the New York Times. On Tuesday morning, the two spoke of a video call just before 10 a.m. according to the girl's phone logs. She said Ramos showed her the outfit he was wearing. We can confirm that. We read that before. At 11:06, he texted her that he was waiting for his grandmother. So now the clock starts ticking. 11:06 a.m. He was waiting for his grandmother, who he said was on the phone with AT&T about his cell phone. He referred to her with a vulgar expletive. I'm going to do something to her, he states. The screenshots do not show CC replying, but at 11:21 now, so now we move forward from 11:06 to 11:21. Mr. Ramos sent another text. I just shot my grandmother in her head, he states. Followed immediately by another. I'm going to go shoot up an elementary school. 11:21. He now proceeds, allegedly, out of his home. Late morning, Ramos's grandmother calls police after he shoots her, so we have validation of what occurred. Greg Abbott, Texas governor, said Ramos's 66-year-old grandmother was able to call police after Ramos shot her. Authorities have not released the exact timing or content of the call, so we are missing that timeline as of today. Hard one to piece together. I searched for it. Can't quite find it yet. Ramos sent private messages about his attack just beforehand on one of Facebook's platforms. According to the social media giant, Abbott said at a news conference Wednesday that Ramos expressed his intentions to shoot his grandmother about 30 minutes before. 2 reference points now moving forward to that. His intention now to move to the school. We found articles declaring Texas shooter's grandmother recovering but unable to speak. 11:28, Ramos crashes, prompting 911 call. So now we have 11:28. Next timeline. Crashes his car outside the school. His grandmother's gray Ford truck near Robb Elementary, 11:28. This prompted a call to 911. Again, keep your mental timer going here. 11:28, call goes to 911. Evidence of that car crashing is plentiful. Multiple angles, multiple pictures. Derek Sotelo, who runs a family-owned auto repair shop, said he heard about 6 gunshots coming from the elementary school and ran into women who recounted trying to help the gunman after his crash. The woman said Ramos shot at them. I'm going to show you a second reference point on that also. Escalon confirmed Thursday that Ramos shot at 2 witnesses and continued walking towards the school. Now he's in the parking lot shooting at the school. So here's the map of where we're at so far. Shot grandmother, 11. Shoots at 2 people at the funeral home, the 2 ladies we just discussed. Crashes truck, 11:28 just before that. We're not quite at the breach of the school yet. That is said to be at 11:40. You see here Ramos outside the school. And if you didn't see this video evidence, here's what occurred again outside the school. We're going to stop it there, but again, just trying to tie all the details together for you. Now, the part and the challenge would be this Uvalde shooter fired outside school for 12 minutes before entering. Many calling that into question as to how they get the details surrounding that, because when we dig a little bit deeper, I'll show you where the police station is in correspondence with the school. Texas shooter had confrontation with school guard. The first mainstream media major error is now published by the Wall Street Journal. Texas shooter had confrontation with school guard. In the New York Times article, police respond to Uvalde shooting, infuriated parents clinging to hope. An armed Uvalde school district officer who had been nearby responded to reports that a driver involved in a crash had exited his vehicle with a gun. 2 references now to this school district officer. He heard gunshots as the gunman began firing at windows. I showed you the videotape. It would appear that that would be accurate information. We're going to find out shortly, however. That story does change. The gunman who killed 19 students and 2 teachers in an elementary school had a confrontation with an armed security guard before getting in and sent a private Facebook message about his intention to commit the mass shooting minutes before driving there. Previously, now exposed by Breitbart, the media had been informed about the mass shooting, that he had confronted this armed guard. However, on Thursday, DPS Regional Director Victor Escalon told reporters that at 11:28, On Tuesday, after the gunman crashed a pickup truck, now you got the 11:28, and we know he enters the school at 11:40. Hence the 12 minutes of him shooting outside. 12 minutes of him shooting outside. Remember that for a moment. But then they didn't come out to admit that there was no guard there and that the door was open. DPS reveals Uvalde shooter entered through unlocked door and there was no armed school officer. Immediately thereafter, you see the Washington Post come out. Escalon said the gunman walked into the west side of the elementary school at 11:40. He was not confronted by anyone, changing the story. But yet they say others are the propagators of misinformation. You see, misinformation and details develop, but they're under a different standard than everyone else, of course. Wall Street Journal correcting their story, going through the grandmother's story, going through the nearby ditch at 11:28, coming down to the bottom. So now we're moving towards the front door entry. 11:40. They correct their story, begin firing before walking inside unimpeded. A reversal from their original publication. Police arrive at 11:44. So now we've moved forward to number 4, this graphic provided by Daily Mail, amazing graphic. Walking through an unlocked door at 11:45, no school cop on site. 2 cops arrive, are shot, and retreat. We're going to get that information. 11:44, local police arrive and come under fire, authorities say. 4 minutes after Ramos entered the school, Escalon said Uvalde police and police with the school district are inside making entry. The Uvalde Police Department is approximately 7 minutes from the school. Officers could have been tied up with other things, but I'm getting the timeline, the response time, so you understand all the events that unfolded. They hear gunfire, they take rounds, they move back, they get cover, and during that time they approach where the suspect is at. This is the initial entry, 11:44 now. Ramos quickly made his way to a 4th grade classroom. He barricaded himself in by locking the door and just started shooting those poor children and teachers inside the classroom. Officers are there, the initial officers, but they did not enter the classroom because they were under gunfire, and there is the specific point of one of the items that is missing. We're going to get there quickly. Just hang on. We got to get through the details so everybody knows what transpires. So now 11:44, they're inside. He walks inside to number 6, barricades himself in the classroom, and then makes one of the most gruesome statements you'll hear. Remembering when they came out, this caused a fury. It's still causing a fury. Texas police lieutenant says cops were reluctant to engage gunmen because they could have been shot. Many claiming that is their duty, causing a firestorm in media everywhere. And again, I'm not here to defend or support any position. Provide you the information, you make your decision. There were apparently some negotiations with the gunman after that 11:44 timeline, who had barricaded himself inside a 4th grade classroom. There were a few gunshots during that hour. Fox News reported that most of the killing happened early. Most of the killing happened early. Which begs the question, how could that have been avoided upon the initial entry of the police officers, playing to the final item that was missing? Though it was not apparent whether some of the victims who were wounded in the first minutes of the rampage could still have been saved. That is the question being asked right now, and needs to be investigated further for the protection of any future events that may occur. That has to be vetted out. Remembering that after Columbine, many of these police officials have been trained on how to handle such events. Trained on how to handle events. That is common knowledge. You can find it anywhere across the internet if you want to look. When the cops came, the cop yelled, "Yell if you need help." And one of the persons in my class said, "Help," the student recalled. This coming from a young man within the school. The guy overheard, Ramos overheard, and shot her. Could only imagine the long-term effects on that poor child. Texas school shooting, Salvador Ramos told classroom, "Now, it's time to die." That's how he announces it. Sometime between the hours of the time between 11:44 and 12 p.m. The chilling words allegedly uttered by Salvador Ramos inside Robb Elementary on Tuesday were revealed by a 9-year-old who spoke to KENS5, describing how he hid under a table during the shooting rampage. He shot the next person's door. We had a door in the middle. He opened it, he came in, and he crouched a little bit, and he said, "It's time to die," the student told the station. When he shot, it was very loud, and it hurt my ears. That testimony is heartbreaking. It was also heartbreaking that a young girl inside the school called 911. She also, too, was shot. So we're inside the classroom now at number 7. Said it's time to die before killing 19 kids and 2 teachers. 11:54. Parents are going crazy. Stories surfacing. The police officers went in to save their own children. But these parents were thrown to the ground. Some of them arrested, detained, held back. That needs to be vetted out also much deeper. A video recorded outside the school starting at 11:54 captures parents criticizing the police response to the gunman apparently inside the building. They need to go in there, a man says in a video verified by the Post. And Storyful accusing police of standing outside just before noon. The video shows student family members confronting a uniformed officer who pushes a man back and yells at people to retreat across the street. By 12 p.m., video shows children running away from the school. Escalon said police were working to assemble the right resources, specialty equipment, body armor, negotiators, and also evacuating students and teachers, again leading to the final item we're going to discuss. They were taking gunfire, developing a team to make entry to stop him. That's on the Washington Post. We have pictures of students being evacuated from the school out windows, one woman running to save her own child after convincing the police to release her. I don't even know how I know how I would have reacted. Nobody could have stopped me. Seeing the pictures of police with tasers at parents is something that needs to be explained. 12:23. Now we lose about 23 minutes in the timeline. Scene remains active, according to the police. In a Facebook update, timestamp 12:23, the Uvalde Police Department asked parents to pick students up at a different location, a civic center, about 5 minutes drive from the elementary school, and said the shooting scene was still active. The Uvalde School District wrote on Facebook at 12:30 that students were being taken to the civic center for reunification. And then these heroes arrive. Yeah, it gets tough, man, when you dig through the details. One of them receiving a call at his barbershop from his wife, immediately springing into action, grabbing a shotgun from the barber so that he can respond. Men trained for these exact situations. So now they breach the school and they head in. 4 members of the Elite Border Patrol Tactical Unit, BORTAC, breached the classroom. In this timeline, I'm going to show you. Hero border agents from Elite Unit rushed into Texas school with no backup. It says border agent, but yet another break in the story is there was more than one. One allegedly holding a shield. One receiving shrapnel after Ramos shot at the shield. A third taking out Ramos. That's the story that's developing, but initially being reported as one agent entering. Those details still unfolding as we speak today. The agents are able to end the standoff. It took them a while to get a key, allegedly, to open up the classroom door, or else they would have been through faster. No hesitation, no waiting. They reacted and ended the situation. Could it have gotten worse? We'll never know. But we do know certain things. The Uvalde police. Here's shown their elite SWAT unit. On Facebook, that SWAT unit will be visiting the Uvalde schools and local businesses throughout the day. The purpose of the visit is to familiarize themselves with the layouts of the local schools and businesses. SWAT team members will be in full tactical uniform, and we didn't want the public to be alarmed. This from February 11th of 2020. They have been prepared for this. This is a town of which illegal immigrants are caught often. Schools are locked down continually. So you would expect that those forces were trained to handle such events. Well, we know they are because we've seen the training materials. But yet those same SWAT members stood outside after the initial attempt What's even more heartbreaking here is if you look at them as they enter, they are in full body armor and helmets, but not the border agents that enter. Here's how you know they weren't in full body armor. Here's a photo of one of those agents' hats who took a shot to the head, stitched up, and there's the follow-up evidence of the shot that he took. A fraction away from losing his life, but that is their duty, isn't it? So that one item that will have you begging a larger question, we spend X amount of dollars, we're spending X amount of dollars going out to Ukraine. But yet funding here, if you remember the entire movement, it didn't provide for one thing. Exposed by Breitbart on this article, police initially lacked a ballistic shield needed to reach barricaded Texas school shooter. A ballistic shield. Multiple law enforcement sources revealed to Breitbart Texas that part of the delay in stopping the barricaded elementary school shooter hinged on a deadly mix of shooter's defense tactics. 18-year-old boy just bought a gun. I showed you the timeline. But he somehow got all these defense tactics ready in that short period of time. And the lack of needed gear. Specifically, officers lacked a ballistic shield needed to enter the classroom with the barricaded door that the agents who ended the standoff had. But they weren't there on scene right away. They heard it on the police scanner and reacted off duty to resolve the issue. Attempting to breach the door without a ballistic shield would have resulted in certain death for the officers, which could have provided the shooter with the officers' weapons and ammunition. Again, why I am not here to pass judgment. I'm presenting the information so that hopefully future events like this could be minimized or averted entirely. There is also the possibility that the shooter could have taken police communications gear, ammunition, weapons off of them, and extended his spree. The source not authorized to speak to the media told Breitbart Texas a barricaded subject is the most difficult tactical situation to resolve. In this case, the source says the shooter most likely planned the attack days or weeks in advance, perhaps prior to the purchase of the two AR-15 style rifles and ammunition he carried onto the school grounds. This one item, could it have changed the outcome and the tragedy that we saw? We have seen police units across the country militarized, but yet one ballistic shield wasn't in their possession. A town fraught with continual lockdowns, illegal immigrants entering continually, missed one item, a ballistic shield. So you wonder why now investigations are being called for? Man, I don't normally completely agree with, but in this case, in light of conflicting accounts from Texas authorities, Congressman Castro urges FBI to investigate Uvalde shooting. And now you understand why. Because you see, in all the mainstream media stories you see and you hear, you got to vet out the information very carefully. And so we combed through the timeline, which ended up leading us to an element that wasn't commonly reported except for by one brave news source, Breitbart. So we wanted to bring that to you, and why we open this story to everyone. It is critical information to have. And so I ask you the question, not saying that any of the events were completely avoidable, but could they have been minimized? Could they have been reduced with the use or possession of one item? I love you all. Can't thank you enough for being here. Thank you for tuning in as long as you did. I know it was a long video, but the details in these are especially relevant, critical, and important to understand. So until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justus Knight, signing out.